I want to welcome everyone to the Street Dog Podcast, brought to you by the Street Dog Coalition. We are an international nonprofit providing free medical care and related services to pets of people experiencing or at risk of homelessness. I am your host, Daria Tavana, and I'm also the Director of Development at the Street Dog Coalition. And on the Street Dog Podcast, we talk about a lot of things, but for the most part, we explore the world of animal welfare through the eyes of experts, street dog vets, and volunteers, and through our partner organizations as well. So if you are tuning in live on Facebook, it is so great to have you here. Go ahead, drop an emoji in the comments, say hello, let us know where you're tuning in from. Let us know what your favorite food is. Let us know what the weather's like where you are. Just let us know you're alive, because we love engaging with you in real time. And if you're listening on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, or YouTube, please make sure that you're following the Street Dog Coalition on Facebook so you can also tune in live every episode so we can talk to you in real time, which we really love to do. So on today's episode, we have two very special guests, and I'm so excited to chat with them. We have Kristen Baltrum and we have Kyrie Ivanovich. So Kristen is the founder of Annie and Millie's Place. Annie and Millie's Place seeks to help humans experiencing homelessness together with their fur family by evolving pet-friendly solutions, programs, and resources. Their work to advocate for co-sheltering in all communities is at the heart of their mission to keep families of all forms side by side. And Kyrie is our volunteer team lead for Boulder, Colorado, our Boulder, Colorado chapter, if you will. Kyrie attended veterinary school at Colorado State University, and after vet school, she completed an ER internship through the Fort Collins Veterinary Emergency Clinic. She practices emergency medicine in Boulder, Colorado, and she volunteers every chance she can get. And you might be asking, what brings these two together? Well, Kristen and Kyrie partner with one another when it comes to hosting clinics, and I think Kristen used the words that Kyrie is her go-to for all things veterinary for Kristen's programs. So they are all-star collaborators and beloved members of our Street Dog Coalition family. And without any further ado, welcome to the podcast, Kristen and Kyrie. It's so exciting to have you here.
Hello, thanks for having us. Yay. It's really fun to be here.
Yay.
Thanks, Derek.
Thank you so much. And I have so many questions, as I always do. And maybe before we talk a bit about the Street Dog Coalition, and I want to, of course, invite you both to chime in and answer these questions. Like I mentioned, this is a free-flowing conversation. So maybe we can kind of first talk about Annie and Millie's Place. And maybe Kristen or even Kyrie, please, by all means, chime in here. Maybe we can talk a bit about how did Annie and Millie's Place come to be, and what inspired you, Kristen, to start this organization and work towards pet-friendly solutions for people experiencing homelessness?
Well, for sure. So little trigger warning, it's a sensitive story, but I love sharing it, and I love the opportunity to just be vulnerable with our family story. So I founded this organization in memory of my sister Annie and her dog Millie, and they together experienced homelessness for 7 months before Annie died by suicide. And Millie was there when Annie died, and it was this moment of not only trauma and loss for our family, but also a realization that during Annie's journey, our family made all these difficult decisions every day around how much we could support. You know, the fine line between enabling and empowering it's a difficult line to stand on. It's a moving line all the time. So there were times that we had to make the hard decision to say no to Annie, but when she died and Millie was there, there's like this awareness that Millie said yes to Annie every single time. And so ways for us to stand on behalf of other families that have made that difficult decision to say no to their family member, I founded this organization as a way to just step in, bridge the gap between services, and do something that could have helped Annie and Millie. I believe that Annie did not access shelter. We know she didn't access any kind of sheltering because that shelter was unable to accommodate her and Millie together. So she chose Millie over safe shelter for herself. So that's where our work started to really advocate toward how do we help shelters accommodate the person and their pet together. So that's the heart of our work and why we started and where we came from and all the things along the way.
That's beautiful, Kristen. I really appreciate that. I have just chills hearing that story. And I know that, we have all kinds of listeners on this podcast. A lot of individuals are like you guys, and they provide services to people who need them most. But a lot of people that we reach through this podcast are also individuals who are currently experiencing homelessness or on the brink of experiencing homelessness. So I just know that by you offering this story and a bit of your experience with both Annie and Millie, I'm just hoping that that multiple people are able to really feel less alone and feel a little bit as awful as it sounds, comforted by this story, because I think that this is a decision that nobody should have to make. Of course, we all agree no one should have to decide between their pet, especially a pet that has said yes to them their whole life. That's beautiful. If I wasn't hosting this episode right now, I would be sobbing. Seriously, it's sweet. It's just beautiful. And I just really appreciate you sharing that story with us. And I know that just that little bit is going to really inspire and touch people. And I would love to maybe get a little bit more insight from you on some of the specific programs and resources that Annie and Millie's Place offers to support individuals who are experiencing homelessness and their pets.
Oh, for sure. So we're kind of focused in on 4 main areas right now. One is just basic supplies, food, leashes, collars, harnesses, whatever is needed at the time. And we typically do a street outreach event in partnership with another organization. And we go down and just set up a table and hand out whatever anybody would need, kind of thing. People can also call us and set up a meeting place, and we can bring them what they need for that. So, but just basic supply outreach. And then, and those events are often where we work with the street dog clinics as well, but we'll circle back to that. We're currently redeveloping our doggy daycare program. We have an outreach provider plus a doggy daycare business in town. And we created a partnership between the 3 organizations we sponsored the doggy daycare for people who would need to go to jobs or appointments. We're redeveloping that right now because the shop that does the doggy daycare is doing a little bit of a shift as well. So that means we are too. So, but that's still something that we want to be able to, again, offer in the future, because it's really important for people to have a safe space for their animal while they take care of themselves as well. And with that, we're working with partner shelter organizations and foster organizations, and we connect the dots and connect people to foster care. If people would need to put their animal in temporary fostering for, if it's a health reason or a program reason or even a short-term jail sentence, we believe that they should have the right to have their animal back. So we connect the dots for short-term fostering there. And then our biggest outreach really is working with Street Dog and with Kyrie to do veterinary care. So lots of preventative care at the clinics that Kyrie and her team come down to. And then, like I said, Kyrie's on speed dial for anything that would come my way outside of clinic hours. We were very, very thankful to receive a grant from the Cold Noses Foundation that gave us some funds to be able to pay for urgent and emergency care as well. So we have people call us when their animal is in some sort of health crisis. I triage that with Kyrie, and then we decide how to move forward, and then we can cover the costs of that. So those are really, foster care, daycare, supplies, and veterinary are the 4 programs that we're working on right now as we learn the scene and navigate toward co-sheltering and wrapping those programs into that opportunity.
That's beautiful. And it sounds to me like a lot of the work that you do is stuff that a lot of organizations don't do. A lot of organizations might not have the capacity to do. You seem to really kind of fill in these little tiny gaps.
Yes.
Which I really appreciate. And I think the work that you do is so nuanced and so incredibly helpful to people who need it during moments of their life where they're oftentimes not being supported by family members, having, the door slammed in their face from other shelters, other veterinary care clinics and stuff like that. So I appreciate you kind of shining a light on the needs of these individuals during these times. And of course, I appreciate you doing the hard work of connecting them with the services that they need and making sure that they are healthy and that their pet is also healthy and happy.
Well, thank you very much. It's all done in partnership with businesses, organizations, other, community outreach and stuff. I am not a veterinarian, nor am I a social worker. So I just stand here. I'm like, who's got what? And how can I put it together? And then who's got money to pay for that to happen? So
I love that.
all I do.
I love that. Of course, you say that's all I do. And
Right.
that's like the most challenging, thankless work of it all. I mean, I totally love that. And I hope that anyone who is listening to this episode who wants to somehow get involved with your organization does so. I'm going to include the link in our show notes. So by all means, check out Annie and Millie's place, their website. And I also think that oftentimes we feel like we have to be veterinarians before we get to Kyrie, which I'm about to get to Kyrie.
Yeah.
But I think oftentimes we feel like we have to be veterinarians, we have to have certain degrees, we have to have certain levels of confidence. But I really appreciate how what you had was this personal experience, this, traumatizing experience. And this organization seems to be like this kind of rose that grew from concrete. And I think as long as you have a passion and a purpose, and you're crazy enough to be juggling all of these things at once, maybe there's someone listening to this episode that wants to start their own organization. And
absolutely, little bit of confidence and a whole lot of crazy. That's pretty much what it is.
I love that. That might be the name of my autobiography.
Perfect.
A little bit of confidence and a whole lot of crazy. I love it.
I love it.
And Kyrie, as I see you sitting there, so calm and collected, knowing that your life could probably be more chaotic than both of ours combined. I don't know Kristen well enough to make that statement, but I know, being the go-to veterinary professional for all things emergency related is a lot of work. So maybe can you share with us, Kyrie, what led you to get involved with Annie and Millie's place and to partner with Kristen? And maybe you can also share with us your story toward, getting involved with the Street Dog Coalition as well.
Yeah. I'm happy to share a little about my origin story with the Street Dog. I would have met John Geller about 8 years ago now. And yeah, the Street Dog Coalition was a much smaller organization at that time. And we were doing a little clinic at a low-income housing facility in South Fort Collins. And I was a first-year vet student at the time. And I thought it sounded like a really cool opportunity. I met John, had an awesome time volunteering, and it fit just exactly what I wanted to do. I had these blinders on about exactly where my career was going to go, and didn't admit at that time that lots of things change over the course of 4 years of graduate school and all the people you were going to meet. And John Geller happened to be one of those people that I bumped into in that phase of life that really did change the course of how things went in my life and in my career. So I have him to thank as one of my veterinary mentors and someone who's meant a lot to me throughout the years. So I told John about my intention to do street dog medicine and that I had been traveling the world and that I was working with these street dog communities in India and Nepal, and that's what I wanted to do when I finished vet school, and I was going to be a shelter veterinarian. And he asked me, how are you going to make money? And maybe hadn't thought about that yet.
Which is wild that he asked you that question.
And he started asking me like, how are you going to pay off your debt? Like this is a good mentor. He's starting to ask me like, okay, 4 years from now, what is your veterinary school debt going to look like? And how are you going to translate these passions that you have into a career, and also provide for yourself and your family and make sound financial decisions? And so it was really helpful for me that he challenged me in that way. And he actually led me to emergency vet med. And he said, I think that this is the path, out of debt for a lot of young veterinarians right now. And I think that there are a lot of ways also that you can do the work that you're passionate about, without, moving yourself to a foreign country and volunteering all of your time. So I volunteered with John throughout veterinary school with the Street Dog Coalition, but I also started working at the Fort Collins ER that many people probably know that John was one of the founders for. So he had helped me get a job there. I fell in love with emergency medicine. I was always in love with street medicine. And so, that's where things.
And can I interrupt to ask you one question?
Mm-hmm.
Can you just tell me more about what it means to fall in love with emergency medicine? I'm so curious. I'm sorry to interrupt you. I just wanted to pull that out and shine a spotlight on it because it's incredible to me.
Yeah, that's a good question. I think it's either for you or it's not. And, you'll spend even just a couple of hours in the middle of, a busy emergency shift, and you'll know, whether or not you thrive in that environment or whether or not you feel completely overwhelmed by it. And I've always loved it. I love that I can be a jack of all trades and do a little bit of all different types of medicine. I love that I can have my hands in lots of little projects all at once and learn to prioritize and just manage all of the different things that are happening. So I've always loved that environment. And I think it translates really well a lot of times to what we do at these street clinics too, right? Where we have, all of these resources, and Kristen can agree with me that sometimes these clinics are complete organized chaos, right? Where
100%.
you've got 2 hours, everyone is swarming all around, and we're basically having to triage the entire situation. So, whether you knew it or not, Kristen, you're officially mastering the art of triage through our street clinics.
And I love, Kyrie, that that's what you do for fun.
Right.
Among other things.
Among other things, of course. Yeah. Very cool. Very cool. And continue sharing your story. I just wanted to really pull that out and shine a light on it. Go for it. I'll let you continue.
That's really where things come full circle. So I've been graduated from veterinary school for about 4 years, and I will have paid off all of my veterinary school debt within a 5-year plan, which was what I wanted to do. And then have the freedom to really do anything that I want to do from an animal welfare standpoint. And I think I'll always have a hand in ER, but I'm really excited to see, where things go next. And I'm really excited to be involved in the Street Dog Coalition because it really has scratched my itch to give back to the community around me. And when I go to work, I work at a big specialty hospital in Boulder, and it's a very different type of medicine than we do at our street clinics. But I love that I can exercise, all of those different kinds of medicine. So it definitely helps me to scratch that itch I have for animal welfare and giving back to the community.
That's so fantastic. And it goes without saying that we are just so grateful to know you and so grateful for your support. And, I've heard, of course, incredible things about you from Katrina, from John. And we're so grateful for all of our volunteer team leads, but I think you especially, you've made such a huge impact, and you are without a doubt someone that has allowed us to grow and expand our impact as an organization in ways that were unimaginable to us. So Kyrie, I really want to thank you so much. You're just awesome.
Yes,
you're awesome, and we love you.
Yeah.
And I have a question for both of you. You guys can chime in. I'm curious to know, how do you see veterinary care as an important aspect of supporting individuals who are unhoused and their pets?
Well, just as an example, I've got one story, the first story that comes to mind. There's a woman who contacted us. She was living in her car with her dog and noticed an abscess on her dog's jaw, and went to an urgent care, but didn't have that, $140 in her pocket just for the appointment to be seen. And so she ended up walking out, found us a couple days later when her dog was very, very sick. And I was like, okay, yeah, we'll just get you in and do it. Made the appointment. She went in and ended up doing $1,000 worth of very critical work on the dog. The dog was very, very sick, but they were able to extract whatever was in there and give the dog whatever it needed. And a couple days later, the dog was fine. But when we were speaking with the veterinarian who attended to the dog, he said that this dog was going to die if we did nothing about it. And meanwhile, I was texting the woman and she was like, I can't lose my dog. My dog is the only thing I have left. I'm living in my car, but I will sell my car to save my dog. And, the importance I could hear in her text messages and even in, her voice when we spoke, that her dog's health was first and foremost, deeply related to her own ability to continue fighting the fight that she was fighting herself. So access to that veterinary care is life-saving care for the person involved. And that's what I love about the street dog, caring for both ends of the leash. You're working on one, but the impact is on both, which is just super cool.
Absolutely. I really appreciate, I appreciate that insight. If it makes perfect sense to me. Yeah. And I know that individuals who are listening to this, whether they're experiencing homelessness or not, I know most of our listeners have a furry friend in their homes that they would do anything for. As my mother always reminds me, she loves the dog more than she loves me.
Right. Yeah.
And I think that's very real for a lot of people.
Yeah.
Kyrie, what are your thoughts on this? How does providing veterinary care, change the lives of not only these animals, but of course these individuals as well?
Yeah. My experience working with the unhoused is that they are the absolute most grateful and thrilled to have this care of anyone that I've ever worked with. I've worked with lots of different client bases, and this is my absolute favorite population because they would do absolutely anything for their pets and they want this care more than anyone. And they are just so thankful to be able to provide this care to their pets that they may otherwise just not be able to have access to. I think Kristen and I have seen multiple examples where, people would save up every day and, try to get their pets in for this care, or they do. And so we just feel really grateful to be able to be there and to help them provide this care for their pets. And actually, I have one story to share as well. We had a client that I met doing relief work, actually, and she had been going back to the clinic every couple of months for another vaccine because she was saving money. And it was a low-cost vaccine clinic. And so the vaccines there were $36 each and a free veterinary exam. And she was way behind on the actual vaccine schedule because it was taking her a few months in between to actually save up the extra income to pay for the vaccine itself. And so they were coming to me asking about how to get her back on the right vaccine schedule. And, she can't afford to get the vaccine she's due for. And so I just referred her to the Street Dog Coalition, and she came to our clinic and we got her Walter all set up with all of the vaccines that he needed, and we got him a nail trim and we got him all of his heartworm preventative. And this woman was so thankful, and never knew that these types of resources would have been available to her, but she's exactly the type of person that we're wanting to access and to help.
That's lovely. I really appreciate that. And I think that so often when I tell people about the Street Dog Coalition, for some reason, their response, and I guess it makes sense, is oftentimes, oh, I didn't even know that existed. Or like, oh, that's so great. I know a few individuals who might really benefit from services like that. So it's always, I think, an exciting, pleasant surprise when we share our mission with individuals. And it must be really rewarding to be the person telling an individual in that moment at that time, like, hey, we got you. Like, we understand how important this animal is to you. We agree that this animal deserves to live, deserves to have a happy, healthy life. And actually, we're going to make sure that happens. Like, just again, chills. I have chills just thinking about that, because I've witnessed people hear that news for the first time, and they're just this relief that, you know, you both are able to provide people with is amazing. And it's funny, I was speaking with during the AVMA conference, I was speaking with our lovely medical director, Dr. Hillary Wheeler, and she was like, you know, I love these clinics so much. And I think a reason why a lot of our volunteer veterinarians love these clinics so much is because we don't have to have conversations, too many difficult conversations with people about like finances. Like, yes, we do have to have those conversations a little bit, but really, as veterinarians, especially, I know individuals who have their own practice are always talking about finances and always talking about, you know, the financial impact of, you know, this checkup, and there's a lot of paperwork. And I guess my question is, I wonder how this resonates with you. Hillary, Dr. Wheeler said, these clinics are amazing because I could just go in there, not worry about any of that, provide this care, make these people feel complete. If things are not looking very good for their animal, we can focus on that conversation, focus on the emotional impact that this change might have on them. And I don't have to worry about piles and piles of paperwork or telling an individual that this is going to cost them thousands of dollars. So I wonder, Kyrie, does that resonate with you? Is that something you think kind of brings you back to these street clinics as well?
100%. Yeah. And I was telling Kristen, I now have volunteers just emailing me and saying, when's the next clinic? When's the next clinic? And, you know, several people I work with, they love it. They want to, you know, go back and get their hands dirty. And, you know, my experience is that it is very empowering for us as veterinarians to have these resources available to us and to be able to direct our clients in that way, because instead of just saying, sorry, you don't have money, that means there's no way to get any care,
Right.
we can always direct them to another place. And that's, you know, the beauty of working on the Front Range in general. We're very lucky to have a lot of low cost options in the area. And so Kristen and I have worked with, you know, the Humane Society in our area. We've worked with the Denver Dumb Friends League, in order to, you know, direct clients where we know that they can get resources if, you know, we're not able to help them ourselves just through the Street Dog Coalition. But to me, it's a huge part of my my own mental health. You know, being an ER vet, I probably give people $1,000 to $10,000 estimates, you know, every day. And so, you know, to be able to just provide this care for people that need it for free or for minimal cost is something that I think is really going to help my mental health long term as a veterinarian, and is really empowering for me.
Mhm.
Yeah, good for you. I imagine that's a great reminder of why you got into what you got into. Of course, now that we know your story and know, if it were up to you, you'd just be handing out these services for free and not worrying about paying any of your bills. It's really cool to hear how providing this service impacts you on an emotional and personal level. And I'm curious to know from both of you, what does the future of your collaboration together look like? What does the future look like for Annie and Millie's place? What does the future look like? I'm seeing you guys nod at one another like you know exactly how to answer this. What's on the horizon for you? We all want to know. Please tell us.
Right. I have a dream of, you know, we don't have a brick and mortar right now, which is one of the reasons why we do everything in partnership. But even when we do have our brick and mortar, I will maintain that we have this hashtag in togetherness. It's the togetherness of the person and their animal, as well as organizations and businesses doing things together where everybody just brings their best and makes something even more awesome together. So I want to have a brick and mortar, someplace that can provide all the things that we do and be the spot that just hosts the clinic that people can come to and check in and either be referred or do whatever we can on site. And I absolutely see Street Dog being there and maybe getting all of the materials that Street Dog uses out of Kyrie's garage and into our unit. Something like that would be great. To be able to just help Street Dog do their best work better. Like that's my whole thing, is just how can we help these organizations that are doing the best work? How can we help them expand that and meet some of the crisis needs? So that would be my vision for the future for Annie and Millie's. Not only providing the co-shelter space, but also having just daily access to the things that we need to provide.
That's wonderful. And I want to first thank you for that, sharing that vision. It's a beautiful vision. And perhaps this is an offline conversation, but however we can assist you in making that happen, please let us know, whether it's providing you with tools, tips, emotional support,
all the
memes.
things.
I've got everything. But no, in all seriousness, Kristen, that's a beautiful vision. And I can't imagine, a world in which that is not something that Annie and Millie's Place accomplishes. So that's awesome. Of course. And Kyrie, how about you? Where do you see this collaboration going?
Yeah, I think I lost video, but can you hear me okay?
You are a little bit frozen. You're frozen, but not in like making a weird face, which is great.
Okay. Well, if my voice is here, that's all that matters.
Have your voice. You have your voice, and your face looks fantastic. So continue. Go right ahead.
Lovely. Okay. Well, to bring things full circle, I can't envision myself working without Kristen at this point. I've feel really close to her story and to the mission of Annie and Millie's Place. And it's not because I was able to meet Annie or to meet Millie, but we go to events and I hear her tell this story, and I just see her love for Annie and Millie really translate into the work that she does. And I feel like that's the work that we're doing. And I know there's a lot of street dog groups that have a co-team lead, and Kristen's my co-team lead, right? We're a partnership, and I don't think that we can do any of this veterinary work that we're doing without each other at this point. And so I'm just excited to see how, that continues to evolve in the future. And Kristen for me now is a lifelong friend, and I'm sure that we'll continue to partner in some capacity forever.
100%, girl.
You guys,
mutual.
I am feeling so warm and fuzzy right now, which often happens on this podcast, but wow, I feel the love and the respect and the admiration. This is so cool. I am kind of tearing up. I've been known to cry on these podcasts, and I'm not going to this time. Not that there's anything wrong with crying, but why don't you guys know we're wrapping things up here and nobody wants to hear me talk about me crying. For our listeners who want to get involved or contribute to the work that you're doing at Annie and Millie's Place, or, to your efforts in Boulder, can you please share with us how they can get involved or contribute to the work that you're doing?
Absolutely. So just go to annieandmillies.org, and we have a donate page up there that lists all the different ways to donate and help support the work. And like I said, our volunteer opportunities are a little short right now because we don't have a brick and mortar space to show up, and it really depends on our events, but we always need the volunteers around the clinics. We have a couple of regular volunteers who are just stepping right in, and they know their role and they do that well, and it's awesome. But trying to connect more people from our community at those events is always something that we're working to expand, and finding other opportunities to connect. We will be building a volunteer page here very soon, so that list will be on there with like all the different things that we're looking for and how to apply. So we're growing in that area, but there's always just send me an email and tell me what you want to do. And I love meeting up with people and talking to people and just figuring out how to plug people in, because the more support there is, the better we can serve.
That's awesome. I really appreciate that. And like I said, Kristen, I'm going to put the link to your organization in the show notes. And Kyrie, I'm also going to include the link to our Street Dog Coalition Boulder page as well for individuals who are interested in checking out some pictures of previous clinics, potentially signing up to volunteer at a clinic. And Kristen, I really appreciate the fact that you asked for donations to Annie and Millie's Place, because in order for you to have this brick and mortar, for you to be able to provide individuals with more volunteer opportunities, of course, you need more funding. So if you're listening, I encourage you, and look at that. We lost Kyrie, but we lost her at the best time because we're wrapping up. And she's back in. It's the magic of Zoom. It's the magic of Zoom, ladies and gentlemen.
I love it.
Live television. Here we go.
There it is.
I really appreciate that, Kristen and Kyrie. This has been such a fantastic conversation. I want to thank you so much on behalf of everyone at the Street Dog Coalition for the incredible work that you do. We are so lucky, and the animals and the individuals who those animals belong to are so lucky to have you in their corner. You clearly work tirelessly, and I just want to thank you. I want to thank you, and I want to encourage everyone listening to make a donation to Annie and Millie's Place, to check out our Boulder, Colorado team page. And I really want to thank you guys again. And I want to thank everyone for listening. And you guys are the best.
Thank you for all the work that you're doing, for inviting us into this time, this conversation. It really is an honor to jump into the story of the street dog, and watching you guys grow as much as you have in the couple of years that you guys have been around is so inspiring.
Thank you.
So thank you for the work that you guys do.
Thank you. And it's all thanks to you guys. We can go round and round in this thank you circle.
No, thank you. No, thank you. Thank you, donors. Thank you, listeners. Thank you.
Thank you, everyone. You guys are awesome. Thank you, Kristen. Thank you, Kyrie. I appreciate chatting with you guys today. And thanks to everyone who is tuning in and listening. And I'll catch you soon. Until next time.
Sounds great.